Hello, it's Gail here from Three Wise Crafters, and in today's video I'm going to do an unboxing of the Spellbinders Platinum Scout die cutting and embossing machine in the Lilac Shimmer. I'll also show you the Platinum Scout that goes with all of Spellbinders' range in their die cutting machines, and I'll show you the new collection from Spellbinders called Out and About that works with any of the Scout die cutting machines, and of course that collection will also work with your other die cutting and embossing machines that you may have. So the first thing that you'll have when you open your box is a piece of cardboard on top of this, and then you have your warranty card, and if you register that through Spellbinders website you'll receive $5 off your next purchase. And then you also have your operating instructions, which will tell you how to use your machine. And then you also have your universal plate system that comes with your Scout. And inside there is an exclusive embossing folder as well as a die set. And this one is for you. And each of the Scouts, so there's 3 versions of the Scout die cutting machine, and that's the Platinum Scout, the Platinum Scout Lilac Shimmer, and the Platinum Scout Blue Mist. They all have different exclusive products within those boxes. So the Lilac Shimmer here, you can only purchase this through the Spellbinders website directly, and the Platinum Scout is also available through Spellbinders, but it's also available from your retail store, as is the Blue Mist. So make sure that you check out your local retail store. For those in Australia, Three Wise Crafters does sell the Platinum Scout and the Platinum Scout Blue Mist. So make sure that you check out the video description for those details. They're at the moment they're in the pre-order stage, but they will be shipped by Spellbinders very soon, and I expect to have them here in Australia in the next couple of weeks. So within here you can see, and I'll show you a bit later, there is different coloured cutting plates in here, and then I'll show you what's in the other Scout as well. So you have your Allen key and a spare stopper here in case the one in the die cutting machine comes out. So that's good that Spellbinders includes a spare set there. So once we take all of the egg carton packaging out, we have a Lilac Shimmer all wrapped up in plastic. And we'll just remove the plastic. And there we have her. So she is a really nice purple lilac colour. And then on the side she has flowers, and on the end as well. And also on the other side. And where the handle is, it has a different flower decal on there for you as well. So this is quite pretty. Compared to the Platinum Scout, it's quite plain in comparison, but you would expect that because that ties in then with the rest of the Spellbinders Platinum die cutting machines that they have. So these open up really well and quite stable to use, so I'll show you how to use it as well, but I'll get out the Platinum Scout now and I'll just show you the difference between the two of them. So this is how I store my Platinum Scout. It's the Totally Tiffany toolbox, and it's the 9" by 4" and it fits quite easily your Scout as well as the universal plates that come with the Scout. So with mine, I've actually kept the exclusive embossing folder and die set that came with the Platinum Scout. And with the embossing folder and the dies, which this die set says Best Wishes, I ended up making this card. So I do have a video on the unboxing of the Platinum Scout, this machine here. So I'll make sure to link that above for you and in the video description below so that you can check out how I made this card. I show you in that video the unboxing of the Platinum Scout and how I made this card. So make sure that you check that out. So here I have the Lilac Shimmer Scout and the Platinum Scout next to each other, and that just allows you to see the difference between the two of them, which is really just the colour and the decoration on the Lilac Shimmer Scout. The Platinum Scout coordinates with all the other platinum die cutting machines that Spellbinders has, so that's the 6-inch and the extra large. So I have here the die set, and this is the one from the Lilac Shimmer, and as I said before, the sentiment is for you, and it comes with some flowers that you can then use to stick on to the die cut here, just to add a bit of different colour, as well as some leaves and some flower centres. Now this is very similar to the Platinum Scout, except for the sentiment is best wishes, and then there is a 3-flower set included with that, and different size leaves. There is 2 different size leaves here, but not as different as what comes in the Platinum Scout. The other difference is the embossing folders. So this embossing folder is got a lot more flowers on it, and the one in the Platinum Scout just had some flowers and more like some seed pods on there as well, which I'm not sure that you can see. You can hear. So the plate system is exactly the same as the universal plate system. It has your F plate, which is your shim, your E plate, which is your embossing mat, the D for your adapter plate, your cutting plates, and with the Lilac Shimmer, they're a nice lilac colour, which you can see here. And with the Platinum Scout, they're obviously just clear. Then you also have your B plate, which is your platform top, and then your A plate, which is your platform base, and both the A and the B have your guides for your cutting or embossing directions included on there for you. So I've decided that I will end up making a card, but I'll make it very similar to the Platinum Scout cards, but I'll use the embossing folder and the dies that came with the Lilac Shimmer Scout, and then you can just see the difference between the two. So I've trimmed down some cardstock here and just going to do a card front today. I'm not going to put it on a card base. And I have some scrap cardstock here in different colours to be able to do the leaves, flower centres, the flowers, and the sentiment in gold. And the first thing that we'll end up doing is using the embossing folder and emboss this piece of navy blue cardstock. So I have my embossing folder here that comes with a Lilac Shimmer Scout, and I need to work out what sandwich I need to do to be able to use the embossing folder. So our platform top B tells us that we need the platform base, which is A, as well as our embossing folder and the cardstock, and then the adapter plate, which is D. So I have these here, and these are from my Platinum Scout. I'm going to put the universal plate system that came with the Lilac Shimmer Scout aside, just so that I've got a spare set for when I need it. So we don't need the platform top, but that has our directions on how to build a 3D embossing folder, as well as how to build a standard embossing folder sandwich. So once we've got our cardstock lined up inside our embossing folder where we want it to go, we'll be able to run that through our Platinum Scout or our Lilac Shimmer Scout. So I'm going to line it up in the middle and making sure that I've got it as straight as possible. And then I can put the adapter plate on top. And I'm just going to move the embossing folder back a little bit, just so that the Scout has some grab room on our sandwich. So what you also need to make sure that you do is have all your plates lined up so it's straight, and make sure that it's as straight as possible on the platform here on the base, so this one on the other side, and then make sure that it's not touching the sides and hold it all together. That will make it easier to run through your Scout, whether it's the Platinum Scout, the Lilac Shimmer, or the Blue Mist, depending on what one that you've got, it will do the same process. So you just need to make sure that you've got everything lined up and as straight as possible. If you don't, the Scout tends to grab it and just shift it off center a little bit. So just make sure you hold everything together. And then it should go through our machine easy. Helps if you turn the handle the right way. And it doesn't take much pressure for me to do it. And once you've got the sandwich started through the Scout, make sure to hold the top so it doesn't move. And then that makes it really, really easy to run it all through. Now you could have used your spray mister like this from Spellbinders to dampen your paper a little bit, which helps when you're using 3D embossing folders. It just helps the paper fibers expand a little bit easier so that you don't get that cracking and tearing that you can get with 3D embossing folders. So if you haven't tried the Spellbinders Mister spray, I highly recommend it. I absolutely love it. I didn't think that I would, but I really, really love it and tend to grab it all the time for my projects. So here we can see what our embossed panel looks like. And I'll run some white pigment ink over the top so that we can see all the raised areas, similar to the card that I showed you earlier. And then that'll allow us to see the difference between the two embossing folders as well. But I'm going to do the rest of the die cutting first. So to do the die cutting, I need to have our die cutting sandwich, which is our platform A, our platform base, sorry, A, our platform top B, and our clear plates. So what I am trying to do is keep one plate clean and the other plate is my cutting into plate. And that may just help with warping. I'm not 100% sure, given that this is only the second time that I've used the plates, but we'll see how it goes. So I have all of our dies here ready, and I'm just going to put our cardstock down with our dies on top, making sure that I'm not going too close to the edge of our sandwich, and that just allows the rollers to grab onto it a lot easier to go through the Scout. If it's too close to the end, like any die cutting machine, it'll have trouble grabbing onto it. So make sure that you bring your cardstock or your embossing folder back a little bit. So I'm going to need to do the leaves twice to get the die cut amount that we need. So I'm just pushed that leaf die up to the edge, and then we'll be able to do our flowers and that as well. And I'm just using scrap cardstock here. It's not any particular brand, but just use what you have. So once I have all of our dies on our cardstock, I can put on our top cutting plate and making sure that it is all lined up and not too close to either edge. And then I can start to roll that through our Scout die cutting machine. And then once it starts holding onto the top so that it's easier for you to turn the handle. And here you can see some of the pieces have stayed onto our bottom cutting plate, and that's okay. We'll take the rest of it off and then we'll do the second lot of leaves. So I have some Lawn Fawn Yeti pigment ink here, and I'm just going to swipe that over our embossed cardstock that we did earlier, and just so that you can see the raised effect that it has in comparison with the Platinum Scout. Now, if you try this technique, just do it gentle. It will only hit the really raised parts of the embossing unless you end up pressing harder, and then it will pick up other detail on your card panel. And you can go different ways as well, and that'll bring up different detail for you too. Now, because it is pigment ink, you will need to let it dry some as well. And you can die cut all your other pieces that you want for your card and allow this panel to dry, or you could heat set it if you preferred. So here you can see how that brings out the detail of our embossing on our navy blue card panel, and it makes it stand out more. So this is quite an effective technique to use. So I have some 3M Scotch foam tape here, and I'm just going to put that on the back of our embossed panel, and then that'll just go onto our pale blue card panel here that we've got. So I have all of the foam tape on the back of our embossed card panel here, and I'm going to adhere that to our pale blue A2 card panel. So I've taken all the backing off, and I have Gina K Design Connect Glue here in a fine tip bottle, which I find much easier to use, especially with thin sentiments. And I just apply that onto the foam adhesive, and that just makes it easier to maneuver our card panel once we have it down, just in case we don't get it straight. So putting some wet glue on the back just makes it a bit easier. So now just lining that up as best as I can. Okay, so that's how that looks on our pale blue. And the white pigment ink actually then sort of coordinates with our pale blue cardstock. So now we'll be able to adhere our flowers onto our For You sentiment, which is very, very fine detail. So you could have cut this out of multiple pieces of cardstock and layered them behind. I'm just going to use the Connect glue and glue this straight to my card panel. So I'm just going to put our flowers on first, and then that'll help me with leaf placement as well. And when we adhere the sentiment down onto this piece of cardstock, we just want to make sure that we put our glue down, but don't stick it down and let it dry. You want to be able to lift it up a little bit so that you can put your leaves underneath your flowers, and then we'll be able to put our flower centers on as well. So Spellbinders has a sale on at the moment also, and I am sure that there is a number of dies within that sale that would be able to be used with the Scout. So make sure that you check that out as well. I will put all the details in the video description below. And just making sure that that sticks. Now I could use my pickup tool for the flower centers, but I'm just going to try and do this the easy way, the quicker way. And although using your pickup tool is pretty quick, I'm just a little bit lazy at times to be getting it out. So I don't think I've got enough glue there. Sometimes I'm not sure if I put enough glue and then I end up with too much. So, okay. It's just making sure we've got our die cut pieces up the right way as well. And then we can put those on our flower centers. You could have done these flowers out of whatever coloured cardstock you prefer. And the same with the sentiment. It doesn't have to be in gold, and it doesn't have to be this exact colour. And the same with the pigment ink. You could have done that in a gold pigment ink, and that would have looked quite pretty. So So just sticking down the last little flower center. And that's what our sentiment looks like with the die cut flowers on there. And then we'll put this on with some Connect glue, and having it in the fine tip bottle, because these pieces here are quite fine, it makes it much easier to apply your glue. And I am putting glue on the flowers, and that will help the flowers stick to our leaves when we put our leaves down underneath. So just making sure that I get all the little details and lines of our sentiment, just to make sure that that sticks down in place. So then trying to line this up as straight as possible in the center. It's a bit harder to do this when I'm on camera because you can't really see as well, but that looks pretty good. And I'm not too worried about the flowers sticking up at the moment, just because I will end up having some glue on our leaves and putting those underneath our flowers. So I'm just going to do 2 leaves on each flower. You could do more leaves if you wanted to, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the top just to help it with the adhering to our flower as well. And just use a bigger leaf on these ones, and I'll keep the smaller leaves to the smaller flowers. And this makes a very quick card when you think about how much time we spent making it. It's a really quick and easy card. So here's our finished card using the exclusive products that came with the Lilac Shimmer Scout from Spellbinders, and you can see here just how effective this is. And this is the card that I made using the exclusive products from the Platinum Scout. So very similar cards, but the embossing folders and the die set included do have slight differences. So the one on the left is from the Lilac Shimmer, the one on the right is from the Platinum Scout. So I have all of the dies that are available in the Out and About collection, which has been designed to be used with the Spellbinders Scout. So the first one that I have is Luna the Seahorse, and I think the seahorse is really cute, and you would be able to do this as a shaker card. Now all of these dies can be used with the Scout, which makes it really easy for you, and they're at a really good price too. So the next one is a thank you, and it also includes the shadow die. Then we have the flowering tree, which you would be able to do in different coloured cardstock and do it for the 4 seasons of the year, which would look quite good. Then there is a stitched hello as well, with the shadow behind it. Then we have happy birthday wishes, which I'm sure is pretty versatile for most people, and it also has the shadow die as well. Then we have skateboarding Terry. So Terry's a bit of a skateboarder there, and I'm sure you would be able to do Terry in a range of colours and change up the dog breed a little bit. So then we have Little Blooms, which you would be able to die cut out and do multiple flower arrangements on a A2 card panel in variations of coloured cardstock. Then we have Garden Buddies with a little gnome and a bird and some flowers as well. And then we have Roller Disco Dottie. So I'm not sure which one's cuter, Dottie or Terry. So we'll grab Terry out. So there we have Dottie on the left, and we have Skateboard and Terry on the right. So leave me a comment below, which one do you think's cuter, Dottie or Terry? Then we also have Smile and Hello with shadow dies included. And Spellbinders is known for their dancing die sets. So this one is Dancing in the Rain, and the legs swing back and forth on our person. and changing up the colours of what you use for your cardstock would change the look of this completely, and doing a rainbow effect for the umbrella would be really, really nice. Then this one is another stitched. It's stitched thank you and for you, so you can change these sentiments around a little bit. Then we have the Love Notebird, which is also quite pretty, the Sprinkle and Grow, and then we have the Mushroom Mansion, which is a larger die set compared to the others, but all of the dies do fit through our Scout. So make sure that you check all of these out as well, and I'll have all of these details in the video description below. So I will be using some of these dies over the next coming weeks to months to create different cards with or use the sentiments on, and I will be trying to use my Scout as much as possible as well, just because I find it a lot easier to have a small die cutting machine on my craft desk than having to use the bigger die cutting machine. I struggle to turn the handle a little bit with the bigger Spellbinders die cutting machines. I've got the XL and I find that hard at times, so having the Scout available to use is, for me, it's a game changer for how I craft. And I do have the Sizziz Sidekick, which I can show you a comparison of as well. So I have my Sizziz Sidekick here beside the Spellbinders Scout. Now the Sidekick is a little bit taller, but the Scout is wider across. The main difference comes in with your cutting plates and the amount of space that you have to be able to die cut. So here I have the Sizziz Sidekick plates here, and then underneath I have the Scout. So just sitting them on top, you can see the difference in the amount of space that you have to be able to die cut extra things out using the Spellbinders Scout. So for me, that's a bit of a game changer. I think I'll be going for my Scout a lot more than I will be for the Sidekick. So I hope that you've enjoyed watching today's video on the unboxing of the Spellbinders Lilac Shimmer Scout die cutting and embossing machine, and seeing how we created this card with the included exclusive embossing folder and die cuts, as well as seeing the other Platinum Scout and the card that you can make with that, and the Out and About collection, and the comparison between the Sizziz Sidekick and the Spellbinders Scout. So if you have enjoyed watching today's video, please make sure that you give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel while you're there. Thank you so much for watching.